Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of year once again where I go through and react to my 2024-25 Championship table predictions. Now, we've already gone through and reacted to my League 2 and League 1 predictions. We'll still have my Premier League predictions to come as well. Looking at my Championship predictions, there's some that I've done quite well on, there's some that I've done awfully on. The worst one, I am 19 places out on with that prediction. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Let's try and go for 40 likes on today's video. This is obviously the first video on this channel since the rebrand. Hope you like it. Let's get into the Championship predictions. Starting out then in 24th place, I had Plymouth Argyle. They ended up finishing in 23rd, so I was one place out with that prediction. I knew obviously at the start of the season, with Wayne Rooney being their manager, I thought they would struggle this campaign. Their squad wasn't looking particularly strong, looking at some of the other potential relegation candidates, and I thought Plymouth would go down. Obviously in the end, they managed to not finish bottom of the table since the new manager came in, who's now since moved on to Schalke. Obviously, massively did improve Plymouth. They brought in a couple of decent defenders in January, but it just wasn't quite enough in the end, and they have obviously been relegated back down into League 1. In 23rd position, I predicted Derby County. They ended up finishing in 19th, so I was 4 places out with that one. I thought the Rams would go straight back down, but in the end they have survived and were a little bit comfortable, in all honesty. Obviously started out the season under Paul Warne. They weren't great under him. They brought in John Eustace towards the back end of the campaign and obviously did progress under him and did very well to avoid relegation. In 22nd place, I predicted Blackburn Rovers. They ended up finishing in 7th, so I was 15 places out with that one. Obviously, in the campaign prior to that, they only just about avoided relegation. They had Sammy Smodics, who scored 30-odd goals, and I thought, well, you only just about avoid relegation. You lose a 30-goal season striker. Sure, that means you're going to go down. In the end, they only just missed out on the playoffs, so I was unfortunately massively wrong with that prediction. 15 places out. In 21st position, I predicted Preston North End. They ended up finishing in 20th, so I was 1 place out with that one. I thought they'd just about avoid relegation. In the end, they just about avoided relegation. Obviously, they sacked Ryan Lowe after 1 game this campaign, which I always, even now look back on, thought very bizarre. Why give him a full pre-season, then sack him after the first game? But yeah, I'm quite happy with that prediction to only be 1 place out. In 20th place, I predicted Swansea City. They ended up finishing in 11th, so I was 9 places out with that one. I actually said in the video that I expect Luke Williams to get sacked this season, and obviously in the end he did. I thought Swansea would be down and around them relegation sort of places, but obviously they did a lot better than what I thought and ended up finishing in the top half. In 19th place, I predicted Millwall FC. They ended up finishing in 8th, so I was 11 places out with that prediction. Again, I didn't really see Millwall kicking on this season, but they did very well. I mentioned though at the time in the video that Macaulay Langstaff did very well for Notts County, but I wasn't really so sure if he was a Millwall type of striker, and in the end he did quite flop, really, didn't he? Not too many goal contributions in that season. I felt like a move to somewhere like a Swansea, if he was going to go to the Championship, did make a little bit more sense, but 11 places out with that prediction. I thought they'd be down and around the relegation sort of places. They only just missed out on the playoffs, so a very, very poor prediction from me there. But the next couple are very good predictions. In 18th place, I predicted Oxford United. They ended up finishing in 17th, so I was only 1 place out with that one. I was very impressed with Oxford's business in the summer. They spent quite a bit of money, and obviously in January brought in Michael Hellick, which I think is a really, really good signing from Huddersfield. He's a top-end Championship centre-half in my opinion, and he obviously did very well in the back end of the campaign. Under Des Buckingham, I don't think they were going to survive, and at the time a lot of people, myself potentially included, were questioning the decision to sack Des Buckingham, but obviously Gary Rowett came in and did a very good job after that, and Oxford were pretty comfortable, I would say, in the end. In 17th place, I predicted Stoke City. They ended up finishing in 18th, so again, just 1 place out with that prediction. Very happy with it. Stoke, since they've come down to the Premier League, always seem to finish in between 16th and 20th. It doesn't matter who they sign, who the manager is, that's just where Stoke seem to be cemented for the rest of time. So quite happy with that prediction. In 16th place, I predicted Watford FC. They ended up finishing in 14th, so again, just 2 places out with that prediction. So quite happy with that one once again. Compared to some of their previous seasons in the Championship, when they had been previously competing for the playoffs or for automatic promotion places, it is a little bit of a down season for them. I would fully expect them to kick on and be challenging for in and around them playoff sort of places. I was very surprised to see the sacking though of Tom Cleverley cleverly, but to be only 2 places out with that prediction, I am quite happy with. In 15th place, I predicted at Portsmouth FC. They ended up finishing in 16th. So again, only 1 place out with that prediction. From my last 4 predictions there, I've only picked up 5 points, so very happy with that on the whole, but it doesn't really get much better for the rest of today's video. Portsmouth obviously excellent at home this season, terrible away from home in the campaign that has just gone by, but Fratton Park is a proper stadium. It's, you know, you fear going there. It's normally a long way to travel for a lot of clubs. There's a very good atmosphere there, and obviously they did it very well. John Mousinho, very good manager then. Again, only 1 place out of that prediction. Quite happy with that. In 14th place, I predicted Bristol City. They ended up finishing in 6th and made it into the playoffs, so 8 places out with that prediction. Not a great one from me there. I thought Bristol being around mid-table. In the end, they snuck into that playoff spot, didn't they? But let's be honest, they were absolutely awful in the playoffs, offered very, very little. And Bristol City, if you'd like to kind of just retract that contract offer for Naki Wells and he then can come to Bradford City, that would be very nice. But yeah, pretty poor prediction from me there on the whole. In 13th place, I predicted Queen's Park Rangers. They ended up finishing in 15th, so only 2 places out with that prediction. I thought they'd be in and around mid-table. In the end, they were in and around mid-table. Much more comfortable this season than what they were in the previous campaign, where I think obviously they had Gareth Ainsworth for a period. They ended up sacking him. This was, is it Cifuentes? Or I can't quite remember the QPR's manager off the top of my head, but he's obviously done a very good job there since he has gone in. In 12th place, I predicted Hull City. They ended up finishing in 21st and only just about avoided relegation, I think, on goal difference in the end. So 9 places out with that prediction. Again, another pretty poor one from me there. I thought Hull finishing, I think, 7th in the previous campaign was a bit of an underachievement. I thought they'd been around 12th, losing a few of them loan players, but they were absolutely shocking this season. And obviously, they brought in Ruben Sellers. I thought that was a good appointment for the long term and have sacked him at the end of the season. Hull off the pitch, they keep making a few of these very questionable decisions. I thought it was strange to sack Liam Rosenior. Then I thought it was very strange to sack Ruben Sellers, having only appointed him a few months before. He kept you up, he did his job, and to see him be sacked I did think was a very strange move. In 11th place, I predicted Cardiff City. They ended up finishing in 24th, bottom of the table. I was 13 places out with that one. I was impressed with some of their business on paper in the summer, the likes of Callum Chambers, the likes of Joe Willock, coming in through the door, but they were absolutely garbage. And as a Bradford City fan, I'm looking forward to visiting Cardiff next season, the one that's coming up. It's a bit hard when we're in this period of what's last season, what's next season, all that sort of stuff, but I'm looking forward to going to Cardiff. Never been to their ground. We actually played Newport County at Cardiff's ground in the COVID season, which seems like a long time ago now, but it's irrelevant. I thought Cardiff would be in around mid-table, top half, I actually thought. We ended up finishing rock bottom and were relegated. Absolutely shocking season and an absolutely shocking prediction from me there. In 10th place, I predicted Sheffield United. They ended up finishing in 3rd, so I was 7 places out on that one. Not a great prediction, but I felt like I mentioned in the video I was very happy, and I thought a lot of Sheffield United's transfer business was very good, but I felt coming down from the Premier League where they were absolutely awful, conceded a record amount of goals, all that sort of stuff, I didn't see them quite making it into that top 6 this season, but they did very well, obviously got all the way to the playoff final and surely have to be one of the favourites to win promotion next season. In 9th place, I predicted Sunderland AFC. They ended up finishing in 4th and were pretty much 4th for the majority of the season, so I was 5 places out with that prediction. Not a great one, also not awful considering, you know, the Blackburn, the Millwall, the Cardiff sort of shouts that are in today's video, but not a particularly great one because Sunderland were very comfortable in that playoffs for a long time and obviously went on to achieve promotion to the Premier League. It was confirmed today that Joe Bellingham has signed for Dortmund, so Sunderland fans, let me know your thoughts on that transfer down in the comment section down below. But by the standard of today's video, that isn't actually that bad of a prediction. Congratulations though to the Black Cats on promotion to the Premier League. In 8th place, I predicted Sheffield Wednesday. They ended up finishing in 12th, so I was 4 places out with that prediction. I was a big fan of Danny Rowe. I still am a big fan of Danny Rowe, but it's very clear that he wants out of Sheffield Wednesday. That squad is nowhere near a 12th place side, but Danny Rowe is a very, very good manager. I thought they'd have a little bit more of a shout of making it into the playoffs, but I think with Rowe's interest in his head clearly elsewhere, now it seems to be he's getting turned down by a lot of the other jobs in England. Could he maybe make a move back over to Germany? I guess only time will tell, but Sheffield Wednesday fans, let me know your thoughts on all the different situations that are going on at your club with the off-the-field issues, you know, staff not getting paid, I think, from 2 out of the last 3 months as well, which is absolutely awful. Chansiri definitely need to sell the football club. So to have all that sort of stuff going on off the pitch and still finish 12th with the squad that they've got is a very good achievement for Danny Rowe's side. In 7th place, I predicted Norwich City. They ended up finishing in 13th, so I was 6 places out with that prediction. I thought they'd only just miss out on the playoffs, but in the end they finished in the bottom half. Now, the injury to Josh Sargent was clearly a very significant one. Borja Sainz was good when Sargent was injured, but then when Sargent came back, I felt like lacked that consistency at times as well. They'll certainly be looking to kick on next season under Liam Manning, who they've obviously taken off of the hands of Bristol City, but not a great prediction from me there whatsoever. In 6th place, I predicted Leeds United. They ended up winning the title and finished first. I was obviously 5 places out with that prediction. Obviously, in the summer, they lost the likes of Somerville, Sinistera, Kamara, Archie Gray, and didn't really bring in much quality at the time of that video. I said, you know, I mentioned at the time of the video, I was quite impressed with the signing of Joe Rodon. Wasn't so sure on Jayden Bogle, but in the end, not an awful prediction, only 5 places out, but when you go from 6th to 1st, it does certainly feel like a lot more than 5 places. So I'd like to congratulate Leeds, but I wish them nothing but failure next season. In 5th place, I predicted West Bromwich Albion. They ended up finishing in 9th, so I was 4 places out with that prediction. I mentioned in the video that I think a big reason why West Brom will make the playoffs this season is because of Carlos Corberán. And obviously he left for Valencia, and West Brom's season towards the back end of the campaign definitely did tail off. Tony Mowbray didn't quite have the desired effect on that West Brom team. But only 4 places out, I've certainly got worse predictions in this video. In 4th place, I predicted Middlesbrough FC. They ended up finishing in 10th, so I was 6 places out with that one. And obviously their finish in 10th has led to Michael Carrick losing his job as Middlesbrough boss. I feel like there's a good coach in Michael Carrick, but he definitely needs a plan B, because I've watched Middlesbrough quite a few times over the last couple of years, and it's just very, very heavily possession based, and they were a little bit toothless at times, and they just had that inability to see a game off or really put kind of their foot on the opposition's neck and, you know, smash someone 5 or 6-0. They just didn't quite seem to have that in them, like what we've seen with the likes of Leeds this season, for example. So next season they'll be looking to kick on, but I think for another season of Middlesbrough to not make it into the playoffs, it does make sense really for Michael Carrick to lose his job. In 3rd place, my joint worst prediction ever, alongside predicting MK Dons to win the League 2 title, and they ended up finishing in 19th, I think. In 3rd place, I predicted Luton Town. They ended up finishing at 22nd. I was 19 places out with this prediction. I don't think many people had Luton outside of their top 6, never mind in their bottom 3. They were absolutely awful this season. Rob Edwards should have certainly been sacked earlier than what he was, but so many players in that Luton squad who clearly thought they were a lot better than what they were. After coming down from the Premier League, they're now going to be in League 1 with Premier League parachute payments. They have to win the League 1 title next season, surely. Not looking forward to going there next season, but it is a new ground for me as a Bradford City fan. 19 places out with that prediction. That has certainly bumped my score up quite a lot. In 2nd place, I predicted Coventry City. They ended up finishing in 5th, so I was only 3 places out with that prediction. But I mentioned quite a few times in the video how I was massively impressed by Mark Robins, and he's going to be a big reason why Coventry will kick on this season. But it just didn't quite work out for Robins this season at Coventry. Obviously, he got the sack, moved on to Stoke. They brought in Frank Lampard, who did do a very good job. Got Coventry all the way to the playoff semi-finals, and obviously only lost out in the last minute to eventual winners Sunderland in the end. I felt like if Coventry would have gone up this season, looking at their squad, they would have surely been one of the favourites to come straight back down. I don't think there's much Premier League quality in at that side, but I would say probably over both legs they were a better team, but just kept getting done on the counter-attack, especially in that first leg as well. And yeah, Coventry for me, not an awful prediction, at just 3 places out with that one. And finally, 1st place, I predicted Burnley FC. They ended up finishing in 2nd. I think only lost out by a point, or maybe on goal difference. I think it might have been on goal difference, so only 1 place out with that prediction. But I knew Burnley would bounce straight back up. They'll probably come straight back down. Season after that, probably go straight back up, and so on and so on. It just seems to be a bit of a repetitive cycle, because it seems almost impossible to avoid relegation in the Premier League these days. But some good predictions in there, some bad predictions in there, to say the least. If you add up all of my points, I would have accumulated 138, which is my worst ever in terms of of championship predictions. In the previous season, I accumulated 128 points, and in the 22-23 campaign, just 88 points. Very happy with that season, but it only seems to be getting worse. Let's see what the 25-26 campaign does bring. If you have enjoyed watching today's video, make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 40 likes, as I mentioned at the start of today's video, will be massively appreciated. And don't forget to get your predictions in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below as well some of your early predictions for next season. But how many points did you accumulate from the season that just went by?